Friends, I'm about to tell you how I saved a very impressive $107.30, the 30 cents matters, on my grocery bill with just a few tweaks, a few simple things that I did differently that saved me a whole bunch of money. You don't have to make these drastic changes, but at the moment, the cost of living is out of control. Grocery prices are surging. So if you want to save money on your groceries, if you want to be smart like a fox like me, I'm going to be sharing 12 tips to help you save money on your grocery bill, and it won't be a big deal. Tip number 1, where you shop makes a big difference. It really does matter. For me, I'm very into shopping at Aldi at the moment. I notice such a significant difference when I'm shopping somewhere like Aldi. They have all these private label options that, to be honest, taste just as good and even sometimes better than the original brands that I might have gotten at another grocery store. You might have a local grocery store that also has really great prices, or a farmer's market on the weekend. If you can take the time to go to this different grocery store, I think you're going to notice a big difference in your grocery prices. Tip number 2, I followed a 40-60 approach. This basically is a fancy way of saying I bought 40% fresh produce and 60% of the stuff was canned or frozen. Sometimes the fresh produce that you buy sits in your fridge for a long time. It gets sad, it wilts, and it loses nutrients. And that's why those frozen veg can sometimes be more nutritionally powerful than the stuff in your fridge. It's also going to save you a heap of money. I don't know about you, but in my pantry, I have an entire shelf that's dedicated to tins of food. So I have tin corn, I have tin beans, tin tomatoes. Another little nutrition tip for you. If beans make you feel a little bit farty, then having them in the tin and rinsing them before you use them is actually going to be easier and gentler on your gut. You might find that your farts aren't as intense. So that's my big sister tip for you. The other thing about having all this frozen and canned produce on hand is it means you always have these default recipes you can fall back on. So if you open the fridge and you find there's no fresh produce left, that's okay. You've got a freezer and you've got a pantry that you can rely on. So it could be a super quick fried rice, or maybe it's a vegetable stir fry using frozen vegetables and using some noodles you already have in your pantry. You're going to find meal prepping so much easier when you're following a 40-60 approach, and you're going to save so much money. Tip number 3 is to eat like a centenarian. This is not a centaur. Do not confuse this with the centaur. This is different. A centenarian is someone who lives to be 100 years old. But just living to 100 years old, whilst that is an impressive accomplishment, what we want is good quality 100 years. So they've done research into these centenarians, these old, incredible living people. When they found one of the things that they all did is they ate less meat, probably less meat than you think you're meant to eat. And they ate a whole bunch more plants. You've probably heard of the Mediterranean diet, right? It is the diet that we have the most research about to say it is good for your well-being. One of the things you might not realize about it is that it doesn't actually include that much meat. If you're following a Mediterranean diet, you might only have red meat once a month, maybe chicken once a week, and the remainder of the time it's either fish or going for something like beans, which is a really great way to get protein into your diet. Meat is probably the thing that's contributing the most to your grocery bills at the moment, so eating less meat is going to be a really quick way to save a lot of money on your grocery bill. You don't need to go vegetarian, just pulling back a little bit can make a big difference. The 4th thing that I did is I shopped like a magpie. Honestly, I swooped in on those discounts and I was looking for all those little tags at the grocery store to tell me that something was on special. And if it wasn't special, I was adjusting what I was going to cook that week to make sure I could include it. Keep an eye out for promotions, discounts, and clearances. You're going to save so much money by doing this. And while you're at it, something you can do is you can speak to your local grocer. You can ask them, hey, do you mind giving me a little bit of an insider tip? When do you normally put things out on special? Is there a particular time of day where your staff members go around and put those little stickers on to say that something has been discounted? That is the best time to go grocery shopping if you can. And while you're at it, I think something that is very underrated is shopping seasonally. Now, how do you do this without having to memorize exactly which piece of fruit or vegetable is in season? Well, you're going to look for what's cheap, and that is going to be a clue that it's in season. What you might not know about seasonal eating is that that food probably has more nutrients in it than when it was picked out of season. And that's because it was grown in the perfect growing conditions. Avocados are not meant to be around all year, and something like cucumbers are generally a summer piece of produce. So if you find that you eat the exact same type of recipes throughout the year, it could be a clue that you're not yet shopping seasonally. Another quick way to work out if something is seasonal is to check that it was grown in your area. So if it was grown outside in a different country, it's a clue that it is not currently in season, and you might need to mix up the types of recipes you're cooking as the year shifts to make sure that you're getting the best discounts. Tip number 5 is to meal prep. Now, you don't need to dedicate your entire weekend to prepping food ahead of a week, and you do not need to make bland and boring food. In fact, please do not do that. I don't want you eating the exact same meal every single day for a week. That's boring and unsustainable. But what you can do is just get into the habit of when you do cook a meal, make twice as much. Then you can freeze half of it, or at least you've got a healthy lunch for tomorrow. Meal prepping is going to save you so much time. You're going to be more consistent with healthy eating, and you're going to save so much money by doing that. Inside my app, Back to Basics, I help you meal prep everything you need for a week in just 1 hour. We call it Meal Prep Power Hour. It's intense, but you get it done. And as a result, you're so much more sorted for the week. And if you're looking for some free recipes to save money, I have a recipe ebook with 20 easy recipes to help you meal prep, to help you cook more at home, to help you save precious money at the checkout. I'll leave a link to it down below if you want to grab those 20 recipes. Number 6 is to go for diversity. I know we often think about our superfoods and we think we have to be eating things like chia seeds or hemp seeds. Honestly, you don't need to do that. In fact, what's healthier than eating chia seeds or hemp seeds is diversity, not eating the same thing every single week. And this is just another reason to look for those discounts, but knowing that you can mix it up. Pumpkin seeds, sunflower seeds, they're incredibly affordable and things that you can be including in your diet. Mixing up what fruits and vegetables you're buying, that's going to mean that your gut microbiome is a lot better off because you're feeding it different things. And having this diverse diet can improve your gut health, which can improve your immune system, your mood, and have so many flow-on effects. Number 7, and I wish more people knew this, you don't actually need a protein powder. There are ways to get protein in your diet without a highly processed protein powder. Now, of course, for some of us, if you are exercising quite a bit, having a protein powder can be a good thing to do. But I find that the majority of us are adding in a protein powder when it's totally unnecessary. As a result, you're not only adding in extra calories to your diet that your body might not need, but you're also spending a lot of money that you don't necessarily need to be spending. Protein powders and all these fancy supplements, they can be pretty pricey and expensive. But some easy, affordable protein options that I love, that I eat every single day, might be things like cottage cheese, tofu, eggs, beans, even things like yogurt or seeds and nuts contain protein as well. So don't think that you have to get all your protein from protein powder. There are affordable and delicious ways to get protein too. Now, if you've ever drunk these protein shakes, one of the things that you might realize is that you end up getting something I call gym bro farts. Those are really, really stinky farts, and it is incredibly offensive, and you can smell a gym bro coming from a mile away. And that's because all of this excess protein in your diet can create excess fermentation that makes your farts pretty smelly. A fun fact about farts, farting can actually be a really good sign that your gut microbiome is in a good place. It's just a byproduct of fermentation, and it's a sign that there's good stuff happening in there. If your farts are smelly, that's when it becomes a problem. That's when we go, okay, there is something that is imbalanced, that is not quite right. And having excessive protein, particularly from protein shakes and protein powders and protein supplements and protein bars, can give you those stanky, stanky farts. Now, don't go anywhere. I still have 5 more tips to help you slash your grocery bills. But if you haven't yet, please subscribe to this channel. It's a small thing that you can do to help support me, to help me keep creating this free content for you. And if you have a question that I might be able to help you with, please leave it in the comment section below. Let others know what's the one trick you have to save money at the grocery store. All right, now let's get back into it. Tip number 8 is to go for those tinned beans. Now, I have talked about beans already. You can see I'm clearly a fan. Now, the reason I'm such a big fan is that I meet so many people who don't get nearly enough beans in their diet. And you might not realize that you're meant to be having beans, things like legumes, chickpeas, lentils, all that kind of stuff 3 times a week. And that is because it gives you such a good source of fiber that keeps you regular. It gives you a very healthy source of protein, and it's incredibly affordable. Now, a lot of people I know, they don't eat beans because of the gas and the bloating that it can cause. And one of the things you might not realize is, yes, we do want to be rinsing our beans. That's going to help to reduce that fermentation and that load. But the other thing you can do is kind of build up your tolerance level. So if you never eat beans and then you go and you have a whole tin of beans, you are going to get a whole lot of gas and bloat. Instead, what I'd recommend you doing is slowly increasing the amount of beans in your diet. As a result, you're building up your tolerance level so that in a couple of months from now, you will be able to have beans 3 times a week and save money by doing so. I also think beans are an incredibly easy way to add in a source of slow burning carbohydrates into your diet. I think the wellness world has made us fear all carbohydrates. And of course, not all carbohydrates are created equal. And beans, in my opinion, are one of the healthiest sorts of carbohydrates. So if you're looking after your blood sugar levels or your heart health, beans are such an important food that you can be adding into your diet to improve your metabolic health. Now, number 9, I bulked out my meals. Now, this is particularly important if you are going to make a meat dish. So I used to buy about 500 grams, which is about a pound of mincemeat, which costs around 10 Australian dollars. And what I would do is, I think that was 2 servings, 250 grams per person, half a pound per person. What I realized is that that could actually serve 4 people. Not only is that nutritionally healthy, because that's the amount of meat that you should be having per meal, but it also means that I was able to stretch my budget so much further. Can you guess the kinds of things I was adding to my meals to bulk them out and stretch them further? It included things like tins of beans that I had washed, but also things like mushrooms can be easily blended up and popped into something like a bolognese. Carrots, a whole bag of carrots is incredibly affordable. And if you pop that in the blender and you blitz that up, that's also going to help to bulk out your meals. The other thing you can do is you can get out your grater and grate things like zucchini and cauliflower. Not only is this going to make your diet much more nutritious, but you're going to get twice as much from the meat that you're already buying. This means you can still eat meat, but you're eating more plants and you're making it a whole lot healthier. Tip number 10 is don't forget about larger formats of sauces and condiments and things like oils. Not only is this going to save you money, but it can also lower your environmental footprints because it means less packaging. A handy thing to do in mind is you can do this with a lot of sauces and condiments, but something I don't typically do this with is something like extra virgin olive oil. Extra virgin olive oil is the healthiest oil to use in your cooking and also in your food. And that's due to the huge number of antioxidants that exist inside the olive oil. Now, once opened, those antioxidants start to oxidize. So they reduce and they reduce and they reduce. So if you're buying a huge vat of extra virgin olive oil and you're opening it, those antioxidants start to reduce. So by the time you might end up getting to the end, it doesn't have the same benefits as when you opened it fresh. The other thing to keep in mind with your extra virgin olive oil is typically they come in dark green containers, and that's for a good reason. That also stops the light from getting in and getting to those antioxidants and those polyphenols that we need for good heart health. So you can apply this logic for all of your condiments and sauces, except for me, with extra virgin olive oil, I prefer to go for a smaller jar. I mean, that said, I can still get through a pretty good amount of extra virgin olive oil. Number 11, you can bulk buy your staples, things like pasta and rice, particularly when they are on special. These are items that are always handy to have in your pantry, particularly if it means that you've run out of all that fresh produce. You can open up your pantry and go, those staples are always there to feed you and your family for less money. The 12th thing that I did, which is probably not for everyone, but I do want to mention it, is that I stopped drinking alcohol. Now, I did not intend to stop drinking alcohol. I just did a little booze break. I thought, I'm just not going to drink alcohol for a month. And that month turns into months. And now it's been a year and a half since I've drunk alcohol. And the real reason I stopped drinking alcohol is because it made such a big difference to my mental health. I used to have crushing clinical anxiety, and now I would say I don't have any anxiety at all. So if you are looking for an incredibly effective way to save hundreds of dollars each month, then reducing your alcohol intake can be a really effective way to do it, and your health will be so much better for it. I know my mental health is in a far better place because I went on a booze break. And if you want a little bit of help to create a healthier relationship with alcohol, this is something I can help you with. I think the biggest fear we have is we don't know how we're going to be able to socialize or hang out with our friends if we're not drinking alcohol. We don't want to be the odd one out. So I'll leave a link below for you to get a guide that I have on helping you socialize without drinking alcohol, giving you some tips that were so crucial for me in this year and a half where I haven't been drinking alcohol. I promise you I'm having more fun, I'm saving lots of money, and it's all thanks to a little booze break. All right, so that's the end of this video. But if you aren't already following me on Instagram, I'm nude_nutritionist. I give you lots of free tips, free recipes, ideas to help you save money at home. And I have a podcast called No Wellness Wankery. I bet you can guess what that's all about. But I also talk about ways to save money and ways to be healthier without getting stuck in diet culture. So I'll leave a link to all of that below if you want to follow and listen. And I'll see you next time.